For Creamer Media's Polity, I'm Shannon. Ryhove. Researcher and analyst Professor Raymond Suttner joins me to discuss the vulnerability of Jacob Zuma's presidency. Welcome.
Thank you.
In your article, you point to President Zuma's contempt for the Constitution, but are the EFF not equally, if not more, responsible for the disarray in Parliament and the failure to bring this debacle to an end?
Yeah, I think there is quite a serious situation in the sense that Parliament has difficulty in doing any business. The President has question time. He doesn't answer questions. The EFF start chanting, "Pay back the money," and people walk out. They then have, they bring in riot police and close the session and all sorts of things. They then have a motion of no confidence in the Speaker, and then the opposition walks out and they give them, they vote confidence in their absence. So the whole idea of Parliament in a multi-party democracy is undermined. They then have the Nkandla Committee. The terms of reference do not, in the view of the opposition, address things adequately because they treat the other reports as having the same weight as the Public Protector's report, which is a constitutional report, constitutionally authorized report. And then the opposition walks out and they purport to be examining the issues in the absence of the opposition, so that in the eyes of the public, that report will have very little legitimacy in that the opposition's reasons were brushed aside to such a point that they walked out, and the opposition is going to apparently have their own report. Then yesterday they have or the day before, they have a disciplinary hearing of the EFF. And it seems that Malema had a very well prepared statement showing that the ANC leadership is prosecutor, judge, jury, complainant, what have you. And they again walked out. And we can say that the way the EFF behaves is, a bit boorish, B-O-O-R-I-S-H, and lacks decorum, is ill-mannered, and all these things, like Floyd Shivambu giving his middle finger and what have you. It's a bit crude, for example, I don't myself, I swear, but I don't swear in public platforms. Some people are unapologetic about it. Like Rebecca Davis says that she can say much worse things than horse shit, but there's the idea that it's only male prerogative to swear in public, you see. Now, I believe that when you're in some fora like Parliament, you do behave slightly differently from in a pub or a tavern or wherever you go and drink. So they have those things, but I think the provocation is really with the President failing to give due cognizance to constitutionalism, having multiple reports, and not even answering the list of questions that were put to him, which he hasn't even answered, is a real contempt. And what I think is significant also is that the whole ANC and SACP has backed him, and they have come back accusing others of trying to practice regime change and things like that. So I think while we may not take it upon ourselves to behave exactly as EFF have done, they have been provoked. I'm not saying they're right to have done what they did, but they were definitely provoked by the contempt shown by the President and by the ANC in Parliament.
Now, you say Zuma may be succeeding in flouting various provisions, that he is nevertheless vulnerable. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, things are piling up. The likelihood is that they will bring a court case about the Public Protector's report. Now, it is true that the Public Protector herself cannot enforce her findings. It depends on Parliament to do so. But insofar as Parliament and the President have not responded in good faith to what she has said, it is likely that the courts may well say that they are in contempt of the Constitution. Now, we know already that the DA spent 10 million in getting the spy tapes. Now, if Zuma lost that case, usually he would have to pay costs, and that's us taxpayers who are paying those costs. There are also the many actions he's brought, like when he sued Zapiro. Before he dropped the charges, he got legal opinion. Now, that also must have cost a lot of money. Some of this litigation was clearly unnecessary, because when they reached the Supreme Court of Appeal, Zuma's lawyer admitted they don't have a case for withholding the spy tapes. Now, there's also the question of reinstitution of charges. And whatever the spy tapes say, it seems to me, and Pierre de Vos wrote this yesterday in the Daily Maverick, but it's been said by Trengove and Billy Downer a long time ago, that whatever conversations went on between various people, there was a case against Zuma, which the prosecution had decided had to be brought.
Yes.
That the integrity of that case has never been questioned. And what the courts have said in the past is that if there has been an improper motive in doing something, it's up to the court hearing the case to decide whether the improper motive affected the legality of the charge. There is a case that Pierre de Vos quotes where someone is arrested for an ulterior motive, but the arrest was nevertheless legal. So the motive does not affect the legality of the charge. So it may well be, it's not one or two charges, there are hundreds of charges against Zuma, that those charges are going to be brought. Now, the vulnerability of Zuma is that people, just as Zuma drops people, those who are associated with Zuma have to ask themselves at a certain point, what is the price that is being paid for being associated with Zuma? Nkandla is not just the 246 million. There are reports of road works around there. Now, when you build roads in these places, it costs a lot of money because of the type of area over which you have to build it. And similar rural areas are not having roads. Now, if you read Nigerian novels of the 1960s, you will see these stories of how an MP goes to Parliament and he does something for his village, like building a road. So this is real old-style patronage. So there are a whole lot of things which are costing money and creating resentment. At a certain point, people have to ask, will I go down with Zuma? because it looks like he's going to go down. But then they fear if we push Zuma out, he's got this information about me. Will he not reveal that? So it's not something that is decided on principle. It's decided by who, as they say, when thieves fall out, when people fall out and they know things about one another, what will the consequences be? So it's not a clear choice, but consequently he is vulnerable and he could find himself in the dock and he could find himself having to respond to the Public Protector's report.
Well, thank you for your insight.
Thank you.
That was Professor Raymond Suttner speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about the vulnerability of Jacob Zuma's presidency.